Is Anno 117 Pax Romana even worth playing 8 months after its release? Let's talk about it. The reason I wanted to play this game is because Anno is such a popular franchise. It's had so many great titles come out in it. It just seemed like a great place to, if I like this play style, I have way more content to play besides just this game. But I do want to start off with a little bit of a frustration, and that's that this game is gigantic. If I go to my Steam and I show you guys this is actually insane. The installed files for this game alone is 123 gigs. Now I know it's no Call of Duty, but that's gigantic, especially when you can compare that to something like CK3, right? This game is only 17.78 gigs, and I basically have every single DLC you can get. So just the fact that these two games are at such huge differences in sizes is kind of crazy, and I think I have an explanation for why, which I'll get into later. The second thing is people's responses to this. Now, for all the reasons I said that I was excited for Anno, this particular game, for whatever reason, even though it's their newest game, it came out last November, it's got mixed reviews. And I went and checked out of them. A lot of them you'll see the same kind of thing, that it's easy, that it's bland, and that it's incomplete. And a lot of them do compare to that Anno 1800. And if you don't know, if you haven't played any Anno games, Anno 1800 came back out in 2019. And it seems to be kind of like the standard game that everyone talks about when they're thinking Anno. But it's not the only one. There's a whole bunch. And so for all of my excitement in trying to play this game for the first time, because I've heard so many people talk about Anno and I've never played one, and I love city builders, I love them. For all that excitement, I do have a little bit of hesitation. So I've only played a few hours. I've played part of the campaign, I've played part of just a solo game, and I do have some thoughts. I think for particular players, this is a fantastic game. And then for other players, this game absolutely sucks. But for the most part, it's very much in between. Let's get into exactly why. First, I want to talk about the aesthetic. You can see here just in the starting screen the type of graphics you're going to get, and it just gets better from here. One of the things I noticed is this game seems to kind of have a blend of a few different games. Like this screen right here, this is just CK3 for sure. You got the oil painting, and that's kind of just a city game or genre city builder or empire builder like staple. But the game itself, definitely when you're talking about like the characters and things like that, it gives off Civ vibes, like Civ 6, Civ 7, blah 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 blah. It gives off that, so it's a little bit of mixed. This is just a Celtic region that I've built, part of the campaign. I'm currently in Act 2, and I'll just straight out of the bat, I've really enjoyed the game. It's been a lot of fun. It does not check every single one of my boxes. There's lots of things that I'm really left wanting, but the graphics are not one of those things. The graphics are absolutely beautiful. Like, just look at that water, man. They did something beautiful with this. This is one of the cities that you'll encounter. This is a military city that have one of our homies, and just look at that, man. They did such a good job with just like everything. Like all the models for the buildings just look so good. I'm trying to pan nice. I'm not a good pan in this game, but man does it look awesome. The only reason it's choppy is because of me. It's not because of the game, because the game runs great. My computer does kind of scream a little bit sometimes. It's not perfect by any means, but man, it looks fantastic. That's been easily probably one of my favorite parts of the game. And so if that's something you're interested in, this is definitely going to be a game for you. But with all of that goodness, all of that beauty, there comes some caveats. One of the caveats I have is actually the setting itself, and this is kind of a weird one. I'll talk more about the campaign later, but this is 117. You start out as basically a brand new governor in a Roman Empire, and you're kind of thrust into the setting, but it does not feel as though I'm there all the time. It feels like there's this story that's happening, and then separately, like, there's your settlement. Like, it really just doesn't feel like it's totally meshed for me. It kind of feels like it's two separate things. Like, I'm getting the highlights of a story that's happening, but I'm only kind of participating in it. When I get into the campaign, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But, like, the setting, I think, has some pieces, but it does feel a little disjointed for some reason. Let me know what you guys think in the comments for people who've played. For any of the new players who are thinking about picking this up, for some reason, the setting just doesn't hit all those pieces, whereas maybe another like Roman age city builder might. But it doesn't take me out of it. I'm still having like a lot of fun, but I did just want to talk about that really quick. Okay, aesthetic and setting out of the way. Let's talk a little bit about the UI. This is just a tiny little town I made. It's nothing fancy. It's not even profitable, so I'm not going to pretend like it's great. But I'll tell you what, the UI is super easy to use. There's some games where the UI is just tough, and you have to spend so much time to figure out what things do. This game is not that, which kind of brings me up to just a general thing with this game. It's that it's very easy to understand what's happening. And I think that a lot of the comments that I see in those bad reviews tend to share the same sentiment that the game is just easy, which is kind of funny. I think it's a double-edged sword. I think that the game is easy to understand and see exactly what's happening, and so then you can solve the problems a little bit easier. But in the harder difficulties, like, it can get actually frustrating and actually difficult, right? However, if you're just playing the tutorial, like, this game is easy. It is not hard. Like, they want you to win. They do not sugarcoat it. They want you to progress and do a good job. They don't want it to be hard for you. They help you in every single aspect, whether that's with supplies, whether that's with contracts, whether, like, whatever it may be, right? They help you out a lot. Where's this person going? Why did they go to the end of the road to do nothing? Is that the only place they could turn around? Okay. Anyway, so the game is very easy, but I actually think that that's partially because of the design of the game. The game itself, like, the UI is super easy to use. I'll start up at the top. You have obviously the amount of money that you have. You have the balance, so every single minute in game that you have, what changes in your balance. So obviously mine's negative. I'm losing money every minute in the game, but it'll tell you all the things that are actually making money. Like, you have a balance sheet right there. Like, you don't even have to go into a different menu. So I can see here a lot of my money is going to land taxes. So I'm paying a bunch of money to the emperor. I'm making the vast majority of my money through residences. And so to make up that difference in taxes essentially that I'm paying, I either have to do trade, which I do have some trade estimates towards the bottom there, or I'm gonna have to increase my general production and get more taxes from my people, right? So, like, it tells you all the things right there, and it gives you some things to kind of work on, right? It doesn't directly hold your hand, but it's pretty dang close. The way that this game works is you have different levels of population. So currently, in this city, I only have the lowest level of our population. But just like if you've ever played Manor Lords, if you click on a residence and you have all the things fulfilled that they want, these guys wanted food, cockles, and eels. They wanted public services like a market, bardic health, and they wanted fashion. So reed, shoes, and tunics. They're good to go. Now I can upgrade them. And in Act 2, I get to decide whether I want the Romano Celtic, or the Celtic, and they have different boosts, right? Different things that they get to do, and of course different needs that comes with them. I like the Romana Celtic. By upgrading those houses, especially as you get further into the game, you'll be able to produce different kinds of things. So now I have other buildings available to me. And so the UI tells you lots of stuff. It tells you about your population, tells you what kind of population members you have, and then down just below that you can see the total workforces, their sources, their usage for things, and if you click on them, it gives you even more information about them, right? So it all leads directly into very easily accessible information, which I think is a very good UI. So real quick, don't even need to go that much detail. I know a little bit more about any city that I look at. Above that, you have total knowledge. This is your skill tree. And again, it's pretty easy. Something I like about the skill tree here, which is kind of sick, I wish more games would do this, is you can assign the next thing to work on. So right now we're working on fish markets. Well, I assign that the thing after that, once this is done, because it takes some time to fully research, then I want to work on market forces. And then after that, I want to work on warehouse organization. So I can actually like plan out my tree ahead of time. And so there's your total knowledge. It'll even tell you how much knowledge you're getting per minute. You can boost that up with other things as well. So like super easy to use UI. If you click on Marcus here, it'll get into another menu, which I kind of hinted at. I'll get more into this a little bit later. We have the patron god. I chose Neptune. I realize this is probably not a good move for me, but it's fine for now. I'm still learning. This is a little bit more details overall about your island, really, because this game is an island build. That's the one thing that I am both enjoying and also not enjoying. I think islands already have just a natural beauty to them, but they're also very limited. And I think that this was a good way for them to find a balance in making it look awesome without having to overextend the amount of resources they would need from your computer or the game files, even though it's already a gigantic game. And so the island-based thing here is cool. I'm gonna go see. I just decided to settle a different island, and I don't have anything over here yet. But like, it's just islands. You go and look, and there's just islands on the map you can discover, and if nobody else controls them, these guys control these islands here, you can just like settle them for money. It's pretty cool. It's pretty easy. And so it seems like, in my opinion, I think the island city builder has a little bit of the benefit because it forces restriction. I can only use this space for this little island. And it also looks like just pretty. You have water around, and this looks gorgeous to me, in my opinion. I don't even have the best settings on. But it also, I think, in a fake way, overcomes the Manor Lords issue, which is that you have your one little city, you have your one little territory, and then you work on that. And in order for you to expand, you don't expand that, you just build another settlement, right? It doesn't feel as much like a city builder or an empire builder that I think people really do want not to enjoy, but this isn't bad. Just something to consider. There's a whole bunch of extra information on your island, which I won't get into, but it's all pretty straightforward. It tells you all the things you need to know, and if you just take the time to read the tooltip, like it does a really good job, I think, of giving you information that you need without overwhelming you, which I think is hard. It is hard to do in these kind of city builders. Down at the bottom, you do have your build menu. General resources over here. You have your demolish, grab, or move tool, relocate, grade. You do have a copy tool, which I use all the time, and you have a cosmetic tool, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I don't particularly care for this. This is supposed to be an incentive for you to buy DLCs, essentially, because there's very limited cosmetic changes you can make to this. I'll get into that a little bit later, but this UI here tells you a whole bunch of stuff. So this is the main one you're going to use, the build one. This has your road builders, which I enjoy a lot. The snap and connect road here. You do have a couple different choices for changing the orientation. So if you press the comma button, you can actually change if it's going to be a square or whether it's going to be a little bit more rounded. So this is square, this is rounded. From here, you can also change the orientation of the bend period, which is pretty cool. And so you can make some really interesting looking cities. I'm not going to do that right now. Well, I just did on accident. Anyway, you can make your residences here by either clicking on this tool, or you can do the copy tool, or press C and then grab it. And then over here, you can just make a couple houses, and then people will just fill in those houses. Like there's already a resident in there. So it's super easy to make stuff. What I really like about this system is if you go to the materials, let's say that I want to make tiles, right? I need to make tiles in order to make whatever the next step in production is. So if I click on tiles here, it not only just gives me a tile maker, it gives me the tiler, but it also gives me the pre-production need, which is going to be like clay or mud in this case. And so I can actually make the building the mud dryer, and I do have marsh in this instance. In other areas, it'll be a clay pit that you need a river for. In this map, I don't have a river, so they gave me this instead. So even with just this one click, I'm now able to create that perfect system. Try to restrict the amount of danger I'm putting buildings in. Put this out here somewhere. Okay. I'll put it right here for now. And so now I'll be able to directly manufacture that. I do need to connect any building that I have with a road, but you can do that like super easily. And now you're connected. So just by using this one tool, you don't have to like search through an insane amount of menus to make the pre-production building and then the post-production, you don't have to do that. Like I'm trying to make tiles. Here's the production process for the raw resources. And then here's the refining process. It has all those buildings right there. It does the same thing with timber. You got woodcutters, you have a sawmill, right? So I really like that system. I think it's slick. I truly do love that. And again, I just think that they've done such a great job with their UI. It's probably one of the better parts of this game, besides the graphics and all that kind of stuff. But next, I want to talk a little bit more about the city builder aspect itself. What kind of city builder is this? Well, it's basically a Lego city builder. Pre-made assets that you can make a city with. It's not like other city builders where it's a sandbox, you can create the building itself. I play so much Songs of Six. You guys know me if you've been here before. That is a game that I think some people find obscure, but you can customize basically everything. Cannot do that here. This is it's a mold that you plug and play, which has its uses. Like it's cool. It looks great. So like I want to make another line of houses over here, right? Well, I can make my residences, and I can't make different kinds of residences. This is it. But what's nice about it is I can put it in any particular tile position as long as it's not being covered up, right? And it's easy, and I can even just drag and make a whole bunch of residences, and then like I'm good. And then they're made, and they look pretty good, man. So it's definitely like a Lego builder for sure. If I right click, I got my little like wheel of things that I want to make. I like to make a road behind all these houses, so that way there's always a connection point for the next row of houses. Let's say I want to make even more. I can just do that right here, and then I'm done. And now I've made a nice little strip of houses that are all connected by a road of some kind, and they'll get filled in with more and more population as we get them in, and I'll be set. Like it's really easy to make this city, and you can already see I've been playing this particular city. I've been here for like 5 minutes, and I've already built what feels like something that's alive. You have your main roads, and even up here as we start, I wanted to work on this little villa and kind of the big keep area up top here, which I think looks sick. You also got a sick reflecting pool. It's easy to do that, but you're very limited on your customization. I touched on it a little bit. Let's say I have, this is a spinner. Let's say I want to relocate this. Well, I can absolutely do that by pressing G or down on the bottom UI, relocate here, and I can just take this and move it somewhere, anywhere that I want, and it literally takes that building and moves it. I'm not going to do that. I can also demolish it. I can upgrade it, right? What buildings can I upgrade? Well, if it's green, then I can upgrade it, right? So all of these guys I should be able to upgrade unless they're not available for that. This one I definitely can. Now I have way more of my mercators who are like, again, the higher level citizens. I just upgraded the house very easily. But there is also a cosmetic tool here, and I think a lot of people want these buildings to be more customizable. Maybe we want to change the colors of the roof tiles or whatever. That's not how this game works. If I click on this to customize it, really the customization I get, currently I only have the classic skin, the default appearance, and what I can do is I can change this type of building, but these are all just presets. So I can only change how the preset looks, and I can make something look awesome. I'll tell you, like, these do look really cool. Where's the one with the well? I like the one with the well. So I can make this look really nice, especially on the hill. That one looks kind of like San Francisco style. I can rotate it so that way it's got a different orientation if I would like to. This is kind of a cool orientation. I like that a lot. But that's like the extent of it, unless you buy the DLCs. I'm assuming that's what they want to do with this. They want to give you different skins that you can have for your houses and all that kind of stuff. That's it. You also don't have this customization for like any other building. It's only the homes right now. If I go to the market, I don't have any customization for this. I can't do it. I can rotate it. That's about it. I don't think there's any other building that has any customization. Something to consider. Again, you're playing with Legos, but it's easy to play with Legos. Look at this nice little city that I'm building here. Like, it still feels good to make it. And so I still have fun. If you're interested in that kind of building process, this is definitely a fun type of game for you. Well, now that we talked about construction of buildings and all that kind of stuff, what's the actual gameplay loop? Well, the way that this game mainly works is you kind of have two things going on at the same time. One of them is you are obviously building up your population. You're putting in whatever buildings you have for your houses. And then in tandem with that, you're also creating goods. So again, like production buildings and things along those lines. You create those goods, you can make different goods, you can trade them, blah, 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 blah. So you're just kind of building up your city in a way that is to make you profitable and then make you strong enough to ward off any sort of like invaders or potentially go and take other cities. In this map here, if I go to the province map, you can see that there's other islands in here that just don't have any rulers. Some of these are too small to have rulers anyway. But each one of these, and this is just the campaign, mind you, each one of these is an opportunity for us to expand and just take it over. I just took over another one, Cragmore, just because I was interested. I wanted to see if I could, and you can. So you take over an island, and by that I mean you create a trade post. So this right here is a trade post. First thing you do with this island, and I'll just do it over here. I wonder if I can just delete this. Can I just delete this? I'm going to delete the trade post. Now I'm going to basically wipe out the entire island. I'll do that. I'll save some money, which is helpful. If I had a bunch of things already ready to go, that would probably be an issue. What we're going to do is we're going to head on over to this island, which leads me to mention that a really big part of this game is actually sea voyaging, right? Being on the ship. You can see here I'm following one of my ships. I have a few different ships. Let me speed up time here. So they're gonna go check out this island. It's uninhabited, there's nobody on it. And I'm gonna pretend this is just a brand new save. I don't have like anything other than the ship right now, which you do if you're starting a brand new game anyway. What I gotta do is I gotta find myself a harbor. Over here probably makes a lot of sense. This is definitely the harbor for sure, like over here. But to actually settle on here, I need to get a trade post down. It's already kind of got an outline for me. I do like the blueprint style building layout before you actually make it. I'm gonna go ahead and click on this, and then I can build a trading post. It's gonna cost me a lot of money, but don't worry, I'm not gonna save this anyway. And now I own this island. Now from here, obviously I need to make it productive. So I need to put down some sort of buildings in order to take the resources from this island, make it productive, make it so I'm not losing money, and then eventually build an army to protect myself. Army, battalion. And so far, that seems to be the gameplay loop. Of course, you do have the campaign, which is slightly different, but the same basic process. What can we do with this particular island to make it as productive and profitable as possible? And you can make something that's truly beautiful with the building blocks that you get. In the campaign, there does seem to be somewhat of an incentive for you to join sides with people and then probably take over other people's islands by defeating them through military, through war, and that kind of stuff. I haven't gotten that far in the campaign yet, but that seems to be where it's leading. Like, she does not like me. Voida does not like me. But anyway, I think the gameplay loop is pretty addicting in general. Again, it's kind of nice. You have this little balance here to show you, like, this seems to be the general health unless you have a significant surplus on this. And so it gives you something to fight against. You also have other things that could hurt you, like health. If you start building in additional industries that could, be fire hazards, you're gonna have to combat that, right? Like, so it's not like a super easy, you're always gonna win. But if you like generally understand what you need, it's not that difficult to just hang out and survive and thrive and make a really cool city. Then it kind of comes down to how can you make the coolest Lego like figurine or like huge statue or project possible, right? Like this is meant for you to design with the things that are already put in place. But you also have to do so in a way that is sustainable, which kind of leads me to the next part, and that's economy and trade. It is not a good city simulator if you don't have economy, if you don't have those production chains that lead you to being able to grow that way in the first place. And I will say, in general, I think that the trade system is really interesting and fun. It's not super complex, and the production system is also pretty interesting and fun, and also not complex. This is not a complex game, but I do think it has enough to keep it interesting. Let me kind of explain to you. So one of the things that you're going to have here is obviously your trading post. This is the first building that you put down, and this is going to store basically every single thing that your settlement is going to be making. But it does so in an interesting way. So it's not just that this is all the items that are stored at this trading post. It's like the entire island. If you build a warehouse, all of those items are shared, at least in the UI, it'll share it, every other warehouse and your trading post. Which means if I'm producing a bunch of cockerels over here, which I am, I have some of the cockle picker, these guys are taking this and then storing it in this warehouse. Well, all of the cockles are shared across the entire settlement here. So all the way over here on the complete opposite side of the island, they're accessible from this trading post. So that's how it works. It's not like other settlement builders where you have your one warehouse and it has its own storage. It's a shared storage system. Good and bad with that, right? Obviously, it makes it easier, makes it pretty easy to just generally plan logistics, but it also feels almost like cheating, you know what I mean? For the economist to me, and it feels weird. It's like, that's just like not real at all. The other thing to consider whenever you're having your like production buildings, like they're gonna go and like store things, right? So right next to the warehouse, I have a sawmill. Now these guys are currently dropping off some of the timber into this warehouse, which is great. They spend time going back and forth, so you want them to be closer, as close as you can to the warehouse. And as a side note, if you have, every building has to have roads connected, and the roads need to be able to connect to the warehouse. If there's no roads, it won't actually go to the buildings that it needs to go to. And if you click on any production building, you can see these kind of green outline of where the roads are. That's how far away it's willing to go. So I could put a warehouse all the way to the edge of this green, as long as it's touching the green. This building will still deliver to that warehouse. And then once it's stored, that good is accessible in every single warehouse across the entire settlement here. But if you're thinking about like logistics for this, one of the things that I see is, okay, I have this sawmill, but like how productive is it actually being? It doesn't have workers assigned to it. It has workers. It does. It currently is using 4 of our waiters, which is the lower level in the Celts for like residents, waiters. It's currently using 4 of them. It's also using 8 denarii, so 8 of our money, to be producing and things along those lines for maintenance. And you can even see that up here. Production buildings is one of the expenses. And it's turning this wood into timber. If you hover over this little button in the middle, the circular one here, that's pause or play, it's the productivity. Currently says that the processing time is 30 seconds. It shows us the productivity of this. Currently it's 100%. And even the current process, right? One of the things that I have learned relatively quickly, your secondary production, the buildings that you have that are processing the raw materials, like the sawmill, it's taking in wood in order to make timber. As long as you have this process not outpacing how much you're actually able to pull from the woodcutters, then like you're good, dude. Like currently this woodcutter has no production, which that seems like that'd be a bad thing, right? Well, until you actually look at the warehouse. I have an insane amount of wood I can't even store anymore, right? These guys are coming here to store the wood, but they just have like no more room to store it. So this production building is taking 3 workers and they're not actually producing anything right now. Luckily, that's not that big of a problem right now. It's really okay. It's totally fine. But if I was struggling on some sort of production, I could either adjust the production by turning off and on some sort of building, or I could just make more buildings. But those are like the only effects that you can do other than maybe knowledge growth. Like you can create different research technologies in order to produce more, but there's not as many levers, right, to adjust your production. However, thinking about economy and trade, you can also again go onto and use your UI in order to find out a little bit more. If I click on Marcus here, that's our main character, it'll take you to the production menu. Also, these menus, time is still going up in the upper right. Any of these menus, if you come up here and you can pause it, fast forward it, whatever. It's kind of interesting. Normally menus will pause the games. It doesn't do that in this. Just a thing to think about. So currently, if you look at hemp and then you click on it, it'll open up this chart and it tells you the production for that. And this little chart shows you whether you are producing more than you need or if you have a supply chain issue. So this kind of green lever here, currently it is completely even with the white one, which means that our supply is completely even with demand. So it could make sense for us to increase the supply. Maybe we add another hemp field, right? Or what's it actually being used for, the demand? Well, it's being used for tunics. So this gray line down here is our hemp. And you can see as we were starting to push up production for tunics, hemp was going down. I think we're also selling some too. But the demand for tunics is above our supply. So it makes sense for us to increase the supply of hemp in order to increase the supply of the tunics. And if we can't produce enough tunics after we have plenty of hemp in order to fill our demand for, again, tunics, then we know, okay, we just need another tunic maker, right? Or if that's not the issue, and it's just the hemp that's the issue, well, I can come down here and look at the buildings and say, okay, what am I producing here? I currently have this one hemp farm right here. It's not producing anything, and why? Well, currently I have full output storage. What that's telling me is if I go to this guy here, I have all of the storage I could possibly use. And so my supply chain issue, it's not a problem with hemp. It's a problem with either not using it quick enough in order to actually make the tunics, or that I just need to be able to increase my storage. I can't increase storage right now. That's one of the reasons that I'm researching the warehouse organization, because this is how I can upgrade the warehouse for even more storage. But one of the things I could possibly think about is like maybe we just need another spinner, right? I can make another one. Maybe that'll increase some stuff. That's an option. Let's just put one right next to it. Of course, if we just leave it like this, we are going to get a warning that says, hey, this isn't connected to the road. No warehouse in range, even though the warehouse is right here, and that's because there's no road connected to this. So we'll go and connect it via the road. Maybe I have to connect it a different way. That's always possible. Let's do it this way. And now that it's connected, it's just waiting for some materials. And it's got some materials, and now it'll keep spinning. So we'll watch for production of this and see if just adding that second spinner is enough for us to fulfill our demand. So the economy here has a relatively simple idea and process behind it, which is kind of cool. And then there is a similar thing that you're going to experience for trade. So down here, if you just go to your trade post, you'll be able to do is actually come on here, and for any of these materials, you can set up some sort of trade ideal. So here's some reeds. We have a whole bunch of reeds. We're making so many. One of the things we can do is we can actually sell them, and we can set a minimum stock, which I prefer to do it this way, so I know how many reeds I should be having, and I can adjust from there. Let's set it to like 90. We can get up to 125, so this is like plenty. And then people will randomly come. I'm sure that there's some sort of consistent schedule for it, but other people will come and then they'll trade and they'll buy our reeds directly from here. We don't need to do anything. So trading like that, super easy, super clean. The other thing you can do though is you can actually create trade routes. I do have one trade route right now. Currently what I'm doing is I am taking some of the reed shoes, because I'm making them, and I am selling them to Kanakis. These are these guys. I'm friends with them. In Act 2, you're going to be friends with these guys. They're super chill. But they want olive oil, barley, or reed shoes. I can only make reed shoes right now in just this one island. And so what I'm doing is I am using this trade route with one of my ships that you can either buy, or it's just the one that you made early on, and they can actually do the trade route for you. And the cool part is I can look at this ship at any moment. If I go to my ships tab, this guy right there, Dagda's Cauldron, if I actually click on them and look at what they're doing, I can see what they're actually doing. So right now they are dropping off the reeds. You can see that right now. And now they're gonna come back. They're gonna whip back this way. Now they'll just go back and forth on that trade route. You can make trade routes very dynamic. You can add way more than just one good. You can even sell goods and then buy goods, right? So like maybe I don't want to make tiles, I want to import them. I can do that here and that's pretty cool. Okay, so now they're coming back. They're going to us. They're going to pick up some of our goods. We just had someone come and do a big trade, so we got some money from that. And now these guys, they have one reed shoe. We didn't make enough to fulfill our entire trade agreement, so that tells me I need to increase production of reed shoes if I can. And I can just follow them, go and do the trade route that I had set up, which to me, super cool. Real quick, if you're thinking about, wait, where do I get more boats? You can just buy them here. This one is for sale, and there you go. So I think trade is pretty cool. I think it's got a whole lot of really interesting things, especially if you expand to even more allies and more different cities. You can also use this to trade with yourself. So let's make a new trade route. I'll do it from here. With a new trade route, you just need to add a ship. Any of these ships, I'll take Old Faithful, for example, from Cutslip, and then we'll go to Riverford, my new city, right? And then from here, we're going to unload the goods. So what we do in our main ship where we're loading things, we say, hey, we're going to load our good. We say how much we want them to load, and then how much we'd like them to go to Riverford, and that is what's being unloaded. But let's say that we want a good from Riverford. We don't have anything. Let's say, hey, from Riverford, we want iron, right? And I want a certain amount of iron, like just 13. So they will load it up, and then from here, they're going to unload the good. And so I could drop off timber and then bring back iron if I made that production, right? These guys don't actually make anything, so this is just a trade route for no good. Cool part about this is that I own both of these, so I'm not like losing money, but it's how you can transfer goods to your different settlements. So ship faring is very important in this game. It's actually like vital, and I think that makes it like unique and interesting, kind of fun. Out of all the different aspects of this game, probably has the most detail. And if that's something you're interested in, if like trade and economics is something that you think is like fun, I do think that that's pretty cool. However, like you're just limited. You don't have a billion different people to trade with. You don't have like a billion different islands. Like you have this one square. You do have Albion, which I'm cut off from right now, but I assume you'll be able to do more things if you're not in the campaign. I think I'm pretty restricted. Which leads me to my last thought here, and that is the actual campaign itself. Now, whenever you start a new game, you could do the campaign itself, or you could do an endless mode. The campaign is what I started out with. From here, you can either choose Marcia or you can choose Marcus. I have not played Marcia, but my assumption is that they are the same story. I'm going to try Marcia here a little bit later, but with Marcus, it seems like you're going to have the same concept where you're a governor of a city and then you do something with it. The campaign was fun. Here's what I've liked about the campaign so far. I've enjoyed that it gives you very clear objectives about what you should do next, right? But you also can just like set the tutorial in your normal game anyway, so is what it is. Of all the things that the setting is trying to do, the campaign gets you there the most. So you're trying to live and build a city, like a Roman style city, but like the campaign, I do think, sets you way more into it. You have characters who are part of the Roman Empire. You have people who are interacting. There's a lot of political intrigue. There are sides that you can choose. I am not convinced, though, that it's a super like deep campaign. I don't think it's a super deep story. I think it's one of those things where even when you get like choices about who you side with, like they're still kind of superficial choices. That's the impression that I get, because it's not like you get to make a whole bunch of choices anyway. You're just like building your city. That's really what you're doing. And then on the side, you're like satisfying requirements for a quest. So like you're transporting goods for a birthday or whatever. So you got to go to an island with your ship and then load up some of the goods from one island and then go to a different and then get a couple more things and then go to the emperor's place. Like you get to make certain choices, but it just does not feel like it really impacts the world. And that's, I think, my biggest complaint, but also some people will totally like it. My biggest complaint about this campaign in this setting is you are not changing the world like at all. You're not making a city. You're not even like, you're not changing topography. You're not changing the resources that you see out here. You're not changing like the map color other than just like, okay, this one's now painted blue a little bit and my icon's above it. You're not doing a whole lot to the world. Obviously you're building your city, you're making your logistics chain, making more products, all that kind of stuff. But the world, it just goes on. And here's what highlights that the most. Down here you have your time system, obviously pause and play. You have fast and faster. Here you have the time of day and night cycle. cycle, so I can completely turn off the day cycle, or I can just change the time whenever. And here's why that's interesting to me. There's no like days or years, and like there's days, there is time that's happening. You guys can see it. The current hour is 06:06 and then counting up, right? But there's no days. Like it says Pax Romana, Anno 117. Like you're in that year, that same day, or that like same time period for like ever. There is no year system. It is based on like a purgatory of a day, if that makes sense. Like you're in Groundhog's Day, except you keep getting to build things, but you aren't changing stuff. And because you don't have like years that you're going through, like CK3, you got years. Manor Lords, you have years that you're continuing to build upon, right? It'll say the date, it'll say the year, all that kind of stuff. This game doesn't have that. You have the same day. There's no day system. And in one part of the campaign, they were like, you need to get moving, you need to go. Like if you don't go very soon, then they're gonna get mad, like something bad's gonna happen, blah, blah, blah. It was an empty threat. Like there's no you need to be gone by this day, because days don't exist, dates. And so that was a little immersive breaking for me. I don't think I hate it, but I think if you want a game where you're like shaping the world in a lot of ways, like you're not gonna get it here. That's not what this game, and it doesn't have to be, to still be lots of fun, right? I think that the campaign is the closest that you get to feeling like you're doing something in the world, and really it's not even anything. It still feels a little hollow, which I think is probably where a lot of the negative comments come from. Feels less like you're doing something, whereas other city builders, settlement builders, empire builders especially, it feels like you're impacting things. You're making choices and things happen because you make choices. There are consequences to your choices. There's like no consequences in this game, which is interesting. What I mean by that is there's no like huge consequences. So far what I've seen is like the most that'll happen is like your city will get destroyed if like you have raiders who want to come and destroy, right? Like if you go into debt, like you'll go bankrupt, like, you know, you'll have to take out loans and you'll damage your diplomacy, all that kind of stuff, right? There's not the same kind of consequences that I think some people really enjoy in city builders and empire builders especially. But honestly, that's all right, man. That's why I think people say that it's easy. That's why I think people may not enjoy it if they're expecting more from it. But to me, honestly, guys, like I think it's fine. I think it's great. It scratches an itch that I don't think every city builder can. And I think it does it in ways that are really interesting and like fun, and it creates an atmosphere where you feel like you can just play and make something cool. And some people just want to make something cool, and that's dope, man. That's fun. I like that. So, would you like Anno 117 Pax Romana? You would if you like the graphics. You absolutely would if you like a plug and play. You absolutely would if you like the kind of time period piece where you get to play as a Roman governor building up a settlement, especially if you really like Lego city builders. You would absolutely love this game. You would not like this game if you want a super complex and interesting campaign, or if you want like a god mode sandbox type game. You can't customize buildings. You really can't customize a whole lot of stuff. Like you have the specific material and that's all you get. You have the mold, that's it. You definitely wouldn't like this game if you're a spreadsheet sim fanatic. Like the most that you're possibly gonna get is here, and like that's about it. You can see our production went up, so we're doing good there. How about our hemp? We're doing fine. We're right up there with our in and out, like, but that's about it. So maybe that's all you need. I want to mention something really quickly at the end. This game is still new. City builders take a very long time to build into the final game that they are, right? It's kind of like all games in general nowadays. It feels like it just takes longer because games spend so much time in development, and then there's still an iterative process of getting them better and better and better. Whether that's the actual devs building on that or like the community building on that, that's what games are now. They're like alive. They breathe, right? They live. And so any reviews that you see on there, just understand like that's just one place in time from one perspective. A lot of people can agree on things, but like games deserve a chance to kind of grow and get a little bit better. I think that this game absolutely deserves that. There's going to be a lot of content that comes out eventually for it, in the same way that like Anno 1800, like that game came out in 2019. It's got so much content, and I'd love to dive into that a little bit more. Let me know if you guys are interested in me checking that out. I'd love to play that game. I don't know if I've touched it in like ever, I cannot remember the last time I played it. Maybe I haven't played it, actually. Have I not played Anno 18? Oh, I gotta check that out. That would be surprising if I didn't, but maybe I did. I don't know. Like, that game is so loved, and I think partially that's because it had time to breathe and continue to build on itself. And like, Ubisoft gave trust into the devs to build something that was like awesome and really cool. And I think that's what this game can become. I don't think that the campaign is something that is amazing, but it really does help you learn the quick fundamentals, and that's also stuff you can just learn through a general tutorial anyway. So I don't think you get a whole lot of add from the campaign currently, but I bet in future states it'll really kick up and there'll be way more things that you can do with it that make this game absolutely worth it for you. But that's just me. I think that this game is totally awesome. I think it's got so much to love, and just small steps you can make something that I think is like super cool and interesting. And not every game is like that. I think you spend a couple hours in this game and you feel like you're fulfilled. You feel like you can take a picture. Like, this is beautiful. I'd love to figure out how to like get rid of the UI entirely so I can just look at this. Is there a way to do that here? But I will say this, like, my final thing is I spent a couple hours playing this game and then I didn't realize it had been 4 hours. I spent 4 hours playing this game, didn't realize it had been like 6, right? Like, it's easy to dump hours into this game. The campaign really helps you kind of expand and like guide you through that, but this feels like a game that is like rewarding, and so I enjoy it. I think it's really great for certain kinds of city builder, settlement builder, empire builder players, and there's lots of players who just actually would not enjoy this game also. Let me know which one you are in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed Anno 117. As always, my name's Laundry. Welcome to LaundryTown, and I'll catch you later.